piece of junk.
Welcome to Trash Compactor. In this episode I have a Death Star droid that I originally stripped. You probably see that in a previous video. And I've taken the chrome off him because they're pretty poor state of play. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to be using this, what is called mirror paint, which is by Culture Hustle, which is a cult. It's a artist's cult. You have to join the cult and then you can buy products. So they've come up with some really innovative products, some awesome stuff. I've bought a few bits and bobs which to utilise. So they sell things which are, they do the silvery is silver, the gold is gold. They do this stuff which I've been using called mirror, which is liquid mirror in a bowl. It's like painting with mercury. It's astounding. This was a droid that I was playing around with, and as you can see I painted his dome with the liquid mirror. It's a prototype, it's not the best shape, but the results are astounding. It's really nice finish, very metal looking, and does come up a bit better than some of the metal paint I use. So I've got my two Death Star droids. I'm not going to be using these today, I'm going to use those. I'm going to be using the mirror paint on one of them, and then I bought some Humbrol metal paint, which I'm quite keen on. So this is a black metal, so it's metallic black basically. And what I'm going to do is one of these is going to be painted in the metallic black and one of them is going to be painted in the mirror. So I'm hoping to get a very nice finish on them, because for some strange reason they did Death Star Droid silver, though recollection they weren't silver, they were almost like a bit of a black with silver eyes. But again, when they rushed the figures out in the beginning, they just had photos, they did the best they could. I think there is a silver one walking through the sand crawler or sat there. But they kept using different droids for different reasons, like CZ, one of my figures from my store. He appears in lots of the films in different guises, in different parts. He's in the Sandcrawler, he's in Jabba's Palace. Prototype frame for a Darth Vader, I do believe, was the original plan for him, and they ended up just becoming a droid. So yep, they reused what they created, and grand job they did. So yeah, so that's what this video is going to be, painting these guys. So the first guy I'm going to do is with the mirror paint. But I'm going to do it in sections, because the point is with this is I don't want to touch it once I've done it, so I need to leave it to dry off. Mirror paint is awesome. It's quite pricey. It's £30 a bottle, but it will last a very long time, as long as you don't spill it. I'm a bit worried that I'm going to knock it and lose 30 quid's worth of paint all over my desk. So what I tend to do is I'm sticking, as you can see, it's like liquid mercury. It's incredible. There we go. Oh, where's that? And then what I'm going to do, I'll move that well out the way. To clean your brushes with this, you do need to use creaky table. You do need to use a white spirit or IPA to clean your brush, because it's not water soluble. And the way I've sort of figured out to do it is get a good helping on your brush. What you really want to do is not actually paint it as such, is sort of daub it on and spread it gently. It does spread out, and it goes on really well. See, I'm not overly brushing it. There are other options out there, like people use these chrome pens. I've not really looked into those too much, but as you can see, look, that has gone on really well. It just works so nice. It's a really interesting liquid to paint with. They do some other interesting products as well, which I haven't bought yet. I probably will do at some point. I can't get his arm to stay still. They do the blackest black paint that you can buy. So it absorbs so much light that there's almost no, you just can't see it. It sounds nuts, but I thought, I wonder how good it would be to paint a Darth Vader in the blackest black, but then you probably never see him, so I might do that one day. There we go. So there we are, painted his arms. I'm going to hold his head. I'm going to go ahead and do a bit on the body. But you can see you've got to keep it generous, but not too much, because what I'm trying to eliminate is actually really having brush strokes. But as it dries, it does level out. Oh, it's so nice. It's very chemical smell as well. That's because it's not water based. But it does feel like you're painting with a liquid metal. There may be equivalents out there in the modelling world. I've not come across that many while I've been browsing in my hobby shop. Tend to also buy a lot of my paints online, which is fine because we all shop online nowadays, and the old model shops don't really exist. Hobbycraft is not really a modelling shop, it's a hobby shop. And then there's a great place I ordered from online called Hobbies, which is a proper modelling shop. Kind of place my dad used to take me to when I was a kid to buy his airplane models when he was in the RAF. He used to make all the planes he'd worked on. Very talented, very skilled painter. Just half of his skill when it comes to painting. The detail the man can paint onto in small areas is astounding. Here we go. So remember, if you do get this on your fingers, you're going to need a white spirit or a terps to take it off. You can try and rub it off with a abrasive cloth. So it only really needs one coat. So that's him painted. So it's a super quick job. Let's just get the paintbrush in there to his little cracks in his legs. I'll look at tightening those up later once it's all dried off. So I'm going to make sure I give him a good shake to make sure I get any paint so there's no joints don't physically stick. Just spreads the paint out a bit. Because when this stuff dries, it doesn't really bond surfaces together, which is a huge advantage. It would be quite cool if you had a massive vat of it, you could dip it in and take it out, but let it drip off, but it probably dry too quickly. So there we go. If I now carefully place him, you watch, he's going to fall over. I'm going to leave him there now to dry off. Just going to rotate his arm a little bit, just to spread any paint that's on there around so it doesn't jam the joints. go. So I'm going to leave him now to dry off for a little while before I paint the other guy. Oh, he's very loose and floppy. There we go. Before I paint the other guy in the metallic black, and then we'll do a comparison. So I'm going to go pop this in my paintbrush in some white spirit. I'll come back and do the head later once the body's done, but once it's done I don't want to touch it because I'll actually put fingerprints onto the chrome. So I'll touch it with a cloth or some gloves and then give it a coat of some gloss just to protect it. But yeah, it's a stunning paint and really good. It's an artist paint and they use it for painting objects, but I think it's really great for models. So I will pour my excess in there, 10 quid's worth of paint in the cap. There we go. My tissue, and then I will make sure the lid is unsecure. Pop that there. I'll go clean my brush and we'll come back to this guy later. This is my second droid, so this is the Death Star droid. And this is the guy I'm going to do in the Humbrol, and this is, I believe, enamel? Should be enamel. I bought it in the enamel section. It's metal coat anyway. So the idea with this is it should give me a black, shiny, metallic coverage. So, very liquidy paint. I'm hoping it's a black version of that, but we shall see. But I need to pop the lid off. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh. Ooh, yes. That looks very nice. There we go. So we will do with this dude exactly the same and see how it works. So instantly can tell this is not as thick as the mirror paint, but it's a case of if you are, because it is a chemical paint, you can really smell it. Ooh. Wow, that's strong. Yeah, definitely very chemically. Smell the chemicals. Ooh, be high as a kite after this. But you see, that is not going on too bad, actually. I'm just being quite liberal with it because it will evaporate as it dries, so I can be quite generous with it. Again, just making sure I get it in all the nooks and crannies. May warrant a second coat, we shall see. Okay, so we'll do the body. I'm using quite a flat, wide brush so I can hold a lot of the paint, but not too much. You see, the more you go over it, the thinner the paint goes on. And if I don't like it, hey, you know what? I've got some oven cleaner. I can just strip it again. Yeah, and you can see I may be being really liberal with the paint, but as it's going on it is spreading out and it is showing, it isn't hiding the detail. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be high as a kite by the time I finish this. Let's just get that on there. There'll be people out there who've got airbrush, they're airbrush users and may want to do a bit of airbrushing on this. Probably would work quite nicely. I've been thinking about getting an airbrush, but I used to run a small t-shirt company, and used to use that for airbrushing, and airbrushing is effective, but the maintenance of it is just such hard work. Just constantly cleaning this, cleaning that, and I'm quite messy, as you can see. It's going on the table, and I think if I had an airbrush, half of the stuff on my table would be covered in various different sprays. So I think it's you've got to be suited to airbrushing. You do get a great coverage when you do airbrush properly. There's probably people watching this going, oh my god, look how much paint he's putting on that Droid. So anyway, there's a little bit of a spot there. I'll give him a bit of a wobble. I'm not going to shake him too much, because I don't want to splatter the guys at the back with black liquid. So I think that's going to look quite effective when it's dried. Stick a little bit extra on the shoulders. So once the body's dried, I will then go in, give the header paint. But I think that's quite promising already. And again, these sorts of bit, doesn't matter if it goes on my cutting board. So again, another problem with very loose droids. There we go. And I'll just leave that guy to dry off. So he's drying at the back, do his head. We'll come back to these guys later. Right, well they've both dried now, so I've put a glove on because I don't want to touch the metal. So it's got quite good coverage on it. There's a little smear just there. It's quite a good colour. It is a metallic-y looking grey, almost grey-black, which I quite like. Next thing to do is to paint the heads. So again, with my mirror paint, I'll stick a little bit of that into the pot once it's shaken to make sure. Yeah, I'll put it completely out of the way. There we are. 20 quid of paint on the lid. So there we go, I've finished painting my figure. I've literally just done a bit of touching up. I've painted his head with a little bit of the chrome. I think they've turned out quite nicely. Just making sure there's no specks where I've missed him. And then just check there's no bits that I've missed. Now we just now need to leave him to dry. So before I rest him to dry somewhere, I'm going to get a couple of sticks. Just going to pop them into the feet if they'll go in. Yeah, that'll do. Ooh, bit further there. And then I'm going to just get a little bit of paint. I'm also just going to touch up the bottom of the feet as well, just to complete the look. Be careful not to drop him. I think he's pretty well covered. Not missed any bits. Just check around his hands. Easy to miss little yellow bits. Yep. So I'm going to stick him over there to dry. So on to second dude. So put him on a stick now, and then I'll just give him a quick coating. Also paint the bottom of the feet just to neaten it up, make it nice and tidy. Checking that I've got all the joints. So I will leave them both to dry, and they're now on the sticks of despair drying, and we'll come back to them later. Right, these two have dried off now, so it's a good colour. So I need to paint the eyes and the shoulders. Now I'm only going to do the eyes on this one, I'm not going to do the shoulders silver, and these need to be black. I'm going to use, I've got an acrylic pen, so this is acrylic paint in a pen. The good thing about it is it's really good for detail. So give it a good shake, the lid off. What you do, pump it, and now I've got a permanent flow of black paint. So I shall do the first one. Now for doing this, I've actually got a magnifying glass so I can see. The only problem is the camera may not pick this up. So it's got a light. So the reason why I'm using this is I can basically, if I position the camera, try and get you to see what I can see. There we go. So with this, I can bleed the ink in, or the acrylic, into the eye socket. Yep. Yep. Turn it round. Yep. So that's one done. So I think that works quite well. So I'll leave that flat to dry off. Now I'll go over and do silver one. turn it round. There we go. So how I do is I will leave that to dry off as well. Right, so they've both dried off now. So I've done the silver one with black eyes. I've also done the metal eyes black one with black eyes. Argument is I could have done them silver, but it's custom and it's my choice, so I've decided to go with black eyes. So I just think it looks a little bit more sinister. Could have done the eyes with the metallic metal. I may do that at another point, but again, you're the customizer, it's entirely up to you what you do. For these, to finish them off, I'm going to give them a coat of a gloss acrylic varnish. Reason why I do that, it's just going to give them a shine that looks a bit more like a vintage shiny Droid. Could leave it matte. The only thing is fingerprints on that one will probably dull the metal eventually. If I give it a coat with gloss acrylic, it will take a little bit of the shine off, but it'll just protect it. And then this one will look so much better with a bit of a shine on it. So I'm going to prepare my gloss into give it a good shake, put it into a little bowl, and I'll start painting. So first thing I'm going to do is just going to move this one out of the way. I'm going to use a stick to pop my Death Star droid on. The feet, make sure that's tight enough. I'm not going to sort the joints out at the moment because I've got a feeling that when I do the gloss is actually going to help tighten the joints a bit. Same way as when you paint a figure with loose joints. So I'll give it a go, and I can always apply the liquid poly after this is dried off. And then pop in. I've got a bit of foam that I pop the stick into. There we go. Stab that in there. And then my figure can stay on the spike and dry. So the next thing we do, move on to the next one. So these two have dried now. They've been glossed. They've had time to dry. So the gloss did go into the joints, and my concern was that they may not stiffen, and I'll probably have to use some liquid poly or plastic weld on the joints to do them. But as you can see, the gloss has gone into the joints and has helped stiffen them up. So there we are, a little bit. There we are, still move. So that's done the job. See how this guy's doing. So yeah, that's helped. Perfect. Yep, absolutely fine. So head could still be a little bit loose. Yeah, doesn't really make any difference, but I don't really need to do any of the liquid poly or the plastic weld on the joints. Two final droids. I could have painted the shoulders as to match the original vintage Death Star droid, but I quite like it without. And again, that's the joy of customizing. It's entirely up to you what you paint and what you don't paint. Another option which you could do is infill these bits with black. That would look quite good. They're a different colour on C-3PO droids, so I'm not surprised they never filled those in black. And then again, when painting darker, depending on what type of colour you want for your original droid, you could do those silver. But again, I decided I wanted to do them black, as I just think it looks a little bit more evil. So, I've got a couple of Imperial droids now to join my originals, and I'm very happy with those. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more in the future or suggest some potential future makes, please subscribe.
What a piece of junk!